Back with our politics lead just moments ago on his favorite channel, Vice President J.D. Vance addressed the exit of Mike Waltz from the National Security Advisor role and moved to nominee to be UN ambassador. Vice President Vance insisting that this was the plan all along.
We brought Mike on to do some serious reforms of the National Security Council. He has done that. I like Mike. I think he's a great guy. He's got the trust of both me and the president. But we also thought that he'd make a better UN ambassador as we get beyond this stage of the reforms that we've made to the National Security Council. If the president wanted to fire him over the signal thing, which, by the way, was a total nothing burger of a story, he would have just done it.
Not at all a total nothing burger of a story. What a wild thing to say. Former Secretary of Defense Leon Panetta with me now. What do you make of the vice president saying that the signal scandal, Mike Waltz starting that signal chat in which lots of classified information, mainly, by the way, from the Secretary of Defense, not Mike Waltz, was shared with a reporter. What do you make of him saying it's a nothing burger and this move today had nothing to do with that?
Jake, I think one of the big problems with the president and the vice president and the administration generally is that they just don't speak the truth to the American people. They're always looking for an excuse. They're always looking to blame somebody else. They're always working to kind of downplay some of the most serious mistakes I've ever seen in terms of security breaches. And I just think in the end, the American people just don't trust what they say, and I certainly don't.
What was your reaction when you heard about this switcheroo, Waltz going from National Security Advisor, roughly 200, 300 miles up I-95 to work at the UN?
Well, I think it was something that was going to happen because he just wasn't a very good fit as National Security Advisor. I mean, Waltz is a good guy, was a veteran, I think was more of a pragmatist, understood foreign policy, understood why Russia is a threat, understood why it was important to stick with Ukraine. I mean, he had some basic good instincts, and good instincts don't work very well in the White House, where they're basically playing another game. And then when you add to that the problem with what happened in Signal Gate, I just think it was clear that he was not long for that role of National Security Advisor. And so rather than just dismissing him, they're trying to play it down so it doesn't look like it's a shakeup and would draw that much attention. So they moved him to the UN. I think it's pretty obvious what happened here. He essentially got fired.
And Waltz was, of course, the one who added journalist Jeffrey Goldberg to the Signal group chat in which he and Secretary Hegseth shared details about intelligence. Do you have any concerns about him serving as UN ambassador? It seems to me, but you tell me if I'm wrong. You're the White House Chief of Staff and former Secretary of Defense and former CIA Director. It seemed to me his access as UN ambassador to classified intelligence will probably be considerably less.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. And considering the president and the White House's position with regards to the UN, they pretty much demean what the UN does, and so they're not going to provide a lot of sensitive information to the UN ambassador. So, it's basically a way of kind of putting them in a place where it's not going to make that much difference.
Do you have any concerns about Secretary Hegseth staying on as Secretary of Defense, given his involvement in not just sharing sensitive, if not classified information on one Signal chat, but two Signal chats? I think since the last time I talked to you, another one came out where it turned out he had been sharing the same basic attack information prior to the attack on the Houthis in Yemen with not only Jeff Goldberg in chat number 1, but with his wife, his brother, and his personal attorney in Signal chat number 2.
Yeah, look, I'm very concerned that the White House just doesn't want to acknowledge what was a serious security breach. And obviously, Waltz had a role to play in it, and Hegseth had a role to play in it as well. I mean, he was basically not only using Signalgate to basically talk about attack plans, top secret attack plans, even though he says they weren't top secret. He talked about weapons, he talked about targets, he talked about timing. And then to share that same information with his wife, with his lawyer, with his brother, these are major breaches of security. And somehow what really bothers me is that the White House won't even conduct an investigation into what happened, so that somebody, particularly the Secretary of Defense, somebody needs to be held accountable for what are major security breaches. And make no mistake about it, the more we behave that way, the greater the signal and the message of weakness we send to our adversaries.
Former Defense Secretary and CIA Director and White House Chief of Staff and Congressman Leon Panetta, thanks so much. Appreciate it.